Hi, I'm Ralph Amicis, one of the astrologers, along with Lonnie Amicis of the Planetary calendar. And this is your forecast for August of 2017. Now, when we do the forecast, we work with the calendar. Let me take a quick picture of that, which hopefully you have. And I also work with the charts. This is the chart, for instance, of the new moon eclipse on the 21st. Actually, let's move that over there. And I also have the forecast that we've written. And when you're working with the forecast, you'll notice that periodically a letter will appear. And that letter corresponds to a letter that appears in the boxes. Let's see if I can find one. Oh yeah, here's on the second, the letter A. Okay. And what that means is on that day, something significant is happening, and it is going to appear in the forecast. It will be noted there. So as you go through the month, when, for instance, you get to, let's see, the 21st, and you see an E and a black box, look up above and read that section for E. This is a way in which we made the forecast more interactive with the calendar itself. Also, if we talk about an aspect, a conjunction, a trine, a sextile, in the forecast, and you don't see it exactly in the aspectarian on the day, realize that we mark it on the day when it is exact, by the degree, the minute, and the second. But the aspect is active for an extended period of time before and after, sometimes days, sometimes weeks, sometimes months. For instance, at the beginning of this year, there was an extended sextile that went on between Saturn and Jupiter at the very beginning, January and February of 2017, with very nice beneficial effects. But with all that said, let's get started, because after all, August is a busy time for having fun, and you don't want to waste too much of it watching the forecast, though you do want to be well informed. Now, August has 3 white circle days, which are days in which things are moving very smoothly, and 3 black box days, so it's kind of well balanced. And what do we say for ourselves? Yes. August is also an eclipse month. February was the other one. We're going to have 2 black box days on the eclipses, and that's because eclipses are traditionally disruptive events. They're not horrible, but they are disruptive. There's one on the 7th, and one on the 21st. The period of time between eclipses, the 7th and the 21st, tends to be emotionally compressed and complex. So during that period of time, be nice to yourself. Be easier on yourself. Be easier on other people. It's just a complex emotional time, but it's only 2 weeks. Mercury turns retrograde in its ruling sign of Virgo. Okay? And this happens between the eclipses, which takes a normally difficult emotional time and makes it worse. Why? When Mercury is in a ruling sign, Virgo, Gemini, and the exaltation sign, Aquarius, it's really good at doing what it does. That's what a rulership means. It's really good working out what it's doing. It's able to use all of its tools. When it goes retrograde, it internalizes everything. And most planets, they simply do better externalized. So when it goes internalized, in a sign that it does really well, it can really frail things up. And you can really feel it. Sometimes you have Mercury in Pisces, for instance, which is considered a weak position. It goes retrograde, you barely notice, because Mercury doesn't do Pisces that well in the first place. So when it goes retrograde, okay, it's retrograde. Yeah, what's the difference? But when it's in Virgo, you may find a bunch of technical disruptions going on. Okay, systems that you really depend upon, you think this was automatic, suddenly it's acting up. So in preparation for that, in the week before that, the 10 days before that or so, 10, 11 days before that, take the time to get the car serviced, make sure, clean out old emails on your phone, tune up your computer, whatever it takes with communications and travel stuff, do that stuff beforehand. You know, oil things that need to be oiled and such, all the little maintenance stuff, because it will save you a lot of aggravation later. Like I said, Mercury does, when it goes retrograde in Virgo, it really is confusing, and it's probably affecting me just talking about it. Okay? So the third black box day on the 12th is that Mercury turning retrograde in its ruling sign between the eclipses. Like I said, making a difficult time worse. During the eclipses, between these eclipses, be good to yourself and those around you. Now, going back to the beginning of the month, okay? On the 2nd, Uranus turned retrograde. So just when you thought that the revolutions were over, we're going into reruns of issues that we would thought were settled. Now, Uranus moves slowly, so it means that Uranus has been stationing for a while. It's been appearing to slow down, and it's been sitting still, and now it's probably clicking in backwards. Okay, but it is about revolution. Uranus is about the liberation of the personality, the liberation of societies. So when it goes retrograde, we will see some spots in the planet and the globe where we thought things cooled down, boiling up again. Okay, frustration. One thing about Uranus retrograde is it can cause frustration. Happens with Mars retrograde too. People feel very frustrated. On the 7th, the full moon, the eclipse. How do I describe it? A headbanger. Okay, and the reason is we have Mars, aggressive Mars, conjunct the Sun. Okay, let's take a look at this. Oh yes, this deserves a picture. Mars, the planet of aggressiveness, is in the sign of Leo, right? Within 4 degrees of the Sun. So it's going to be a very, very physical manifestation. Now, Mars in Leo is a very generous position, but it's also very dramatic. So you may find people acting out during this eclipse dramatically, okay? And this is the full moon. The moon is in Aquarius. Not an overly emotional moon, but the moon in Aquarius can be very unpredictable. So during this lunation, during this eclipse on the 7th, you may find people acting out in unusual ways, okay? And at the same time, it's also being encouraged by Jupiter via sextile. It's being encouraged by Saturn via trine. So they're being kind of egged on a little bit. And even though Mercury and Venus, are in nice aspect to each other, there's a nice sextile between them, between Mercury and Virgo, and Venus and Cancer. Even though, the girls may be trying to calm things down, it's still going to get a little rambunctious. It's going to get dramatic. Okay, so during that first eclipse on the 7th, be prepared for that. People just, going up and out of control a little too fast. Don't go poking anyone in the nose with a stick, because they'll come roaring out at you. On the 10th, there's a white circle day. Okay, and let me go over to that in the calendar. Yeah. And this is kind of interesting and needs a little explanation. Okay. It has a void of course that runs all day. It runs from 5:37 to 9:21 p.m. Okay, 9:37 a.m. to 9:21 p.m., which means all day long the moon is kind of wandering. And that's not considered a good aspect. But at the same time, you got Venus sextile Jupiter, a very, very good position. Partile, this is an exact aspect. Mercury sextile Venus, another beautiful aspect with Mercury in a really, really good sign. Mercury hasn't turned retrograde at this point. Why is this a good day? Well, because the moon doesn't move into Aries until late in the day, 9:21 p.m. on the West Coast. It means the moon's in Pisces. The moon in Pisces is not traditionally void of course, because when the moon is void of course, It's in certain signs, but there's 4 signs when the moon is not considered to be bad, when it's technically void of course. It's Cancer, the moon's own ruling sign, Taurus, the sign of its exaltation, Sagittarius, and Pisces. Those are the traditional signs of Jupiter. Why? Because that basically means that Jupiter has said to the moon, oh, go spend whatever you want. Or in the case of the moon being in Taurus or being in Cancer, the moon's saying, hey, it's my own money. So in either case, the moon is self-directed. So with these nice sextiles, especially between Venus is in there and Jupiter is in there, you know, and the moon is in a Jupiter-ruled sign, it is actually a very, very nice day, though it will not be necessarily the most logical day, though it would be a fantastic day to go out to lunch and go shopping. Just saying. This is a little complicated astrologically, but if you're using this calendar, you should have, you know, some good basic astrological knowledge. And we use the traditional rulerships rather than the modern rulerships for this type of stuff, because this is what's related to what's called the dignities. It has to do with how well a planet functions within a particular sign. And for that, the traditional rulers work much better. Within the dignities, the modern rulerships don't make any sense. Modern rulerships would be like Neptune would rule Pisces and Pluto would rule Scorpio. That doesn't make any sense in dignities. In traditional rulership, the 2 signs of Mars are Scorpio and Mars. One is feminine and one is masculine. The 2 rulers of Jupiter are Sagittarius and Pisces. Sagittarius is the fire, the earth, the masculine one, and Pisces is the feminine ruler. And since these are the planets you can see without a telescope, they're the ones that affect us most obviously. Not saying the other planets don't have a big effect, they do, but they do tend to be more generation. They tend to be less intimate. So where were we up to? Okay. White circle, Okay, I'll read you what I wrote about this. On the 10th, that white circle, ruled over by the void of course, Pisces moon offers a deeply intuitive pathway to balancing out these 2 conflicting drives, aggressiveness and nurturing. That sounds like lunch and shopping to me. Okay, D. This is the 12th now. Mercury retrograde and ruling sign Virgo forces the conversation inward and rains glitches down on communications, both human and technological. Okay, like I said, this Mercury retrograde is not a bad position. It just means it really is time to kind of get your inner circuits working properly. Everything will need to be communicated twice. Just get used to that. Until September 5th, which is when finally Mercury goes direct again. Now, the other eclipse, remember, we're bracketing eclipses here between the 7th and the 21st. The second eclipse is on the 21st, the new moon eclipse. Let me take a look at that chart. Oh, yes. Those eclipses are late in the sign. It's very late in Leo, which is actually a good thing. Okay? Why? It has the potential to be very bellicose, you know, very martial, okay? As much as the preceding full moon. We got Mars is in Leo still. You got Jupiter setting up a sextile to that Mars, which could really expand that aggressiveness. You got a trine within 1 degree to the Mars, once again, kind of egging them on. But why is there greater potential from this one? Because at 28 degrees, it's conjunct the royal star Regulus. This is the heart of the lion, el corazón, the heart of the lion. It's a very beneficial energy. It's really at like 0 to 1 degree Virgo. This is when so this new moon eclipse is taking within 2 degrees of it. And it really is the potential, a huge potential here to start anew from a place of heart-sourced energy. Okay? So rather than getting caught up in the drama and the, the crying and the tearing the hair out, don't go into that stuff. Go into what is my courage? What am I passionate about? And how can I use that energy to move forward about things that are coming from my heart, the things I love, the things I care about. Sounds much nicer to me. On the 22nd, the sun enters Virgo. Nice sign. Tilting all of that aggressiveness to practical, ambitious tasks. It's only just changed the channel. You know, we've been on the stage prancing about, so we're going to say, oh, we're going to come back off the stage and we're going to organize the shelves. We're going to go out there, we're going to harvest the food. We're going to harvest the grapes. We're going to make wine. We're going to do those practical things. That's what Virgo does. So all that aggressiveness is going to go to practical, ambitious tasks. Now, on the 25th, this is marked with a G, and on the 26th, expect some speed bumps. Okay, expect some, okay, spill in the coffee, because Venus is going to go from Cancer, which is very feed me, feed me, feed me, love me, feed me, to Leo, which is love me, love me, love me. And pay attention to me. So Venus into Leo, it's actually a very nice position, though it's a little, you know, self-centered at times, but very loving. And meanwhile, Saturn, which is in fiery Sagittarius, turns direct at that same time. At the same time, all of this is going on, Sun conjuncts Mercury. Right? This is what's called combust in astrology. It has a tendency to overload the circuits. It's like suddenly your nervous system just overloads. Don't be surprised if the satellites and if communication systems all go a little wacky for just a little bit there. Okay? It is simply you've got so much stuff going on here with Venus changing signs, Saturn going direct, so much of this taking place in fire signs, and then that combust Mercury all at once. So 25th, 26th, all around there. Don't be surprised if you get some, you know, wacky stuff going on. And then finally, the month ends up on the 31st, because Mercury, you know, who is retrograde, backs up into Leo, right? But he's going to back up over Regulus. So as much as there's been difficulty in this, you know, Regulus, the lion's heart is saying to us, hey, wherever love is, I am, and so are you. So don't worry so much. So this is a great time to watch those old romantic comedies with a box of tissues and maybe someone you love. That's just the name of the game. You're still going to get your work done, but you're allowed to take a break now and then. So that's the forecast for August of 2017. I'm Ralph Amicis for Planetary Calendar. Come back and visit with us again and see the forecast for September of 2017 right here at spaceandtime.com. Be well.